This is the Motivated Business Show, hosted by me, Mark Terrell, the author of Motivated, the Reluctant Leader's Guide to Building a Business That Sets You Free. In my book, I share the 7-step process to get the measure of your business. M.E.A.S.U.R.E is an acronym that stands for Mirror, Evaluate, Action, Systemize, Unify, Review, and Energize. On each episode, I'll be chatting to a business owner about how they stay motivated and how they've got the measure of their business. So without further ado, let's find out who's joining me on this episode. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Motivated Business Show with me, Mark Terrell. I'm looking forward to this episode as I look forward to them all, but I've just had a pre-podcast chat with Pam, and we've got lots of things in common with what we do, and so looking forward to having a chat about that. If you are catching these episodes and you are interested in anything about coming on or just talking about what you do, then please get in touch and also share what you're learning, and that's the whole point of this, is to share the love. And it's also about bringing in people, real life business owners that are really trying to make a difference in the world. So if you're that sort of person, then it'd be great to have a chat with you to see whether you can contribute to the podcast. Right, so without further ado, let me introduce the guest today. I met Pam. Well, she's part of a training group that we're both part of, and so we've had some chats over the last few months, and I reached out to her to see whether she'd be a guest, and she accepted. So a bit about Pam. Pam is a HR and people development specialist and has 25 years in the arena of HR and people management. She supports managers and teams in the corporate and SME world. Within that, Pam has worked in the outsourced arena for over 15 years, so is well versed in making it work for business owners and management teams and individuals. Pam's passion is helping people and teams to develop from where they are today to a place that better serves their long-term plans and immediate needs. Pam supports through training and coaching on a group and one-to-one basis through delivering bespoke programs. So let's get Pam on to join us. Welcome along, Pam.
Morning, Mark. Are you well?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes. I'm looking forward to our chat today. Before we get stuck into a bit of a conversation around what you do, let's give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm Pam Molyneux. I am an independent HR consultant, and I support businesses with all their people management needs. I've also taken on recently some networking leader roles as well, because networking is a big part of my business. And I also volunteer through the Enterprise Advisor Scheme and going to schools, helping the next generation take that step into the world of work. And I also volunteer with the CIPD Manchester branch for good measure. So that's me.
Brilliant. Sounds very like you're a busy person, Pam. Lots of things going on there. And I think that's worth talking about, actually, with regards to the variety of things you've got into. I'm guessing that when you started your freelancer business, you probably didn't think about half of those things that you've just mentioned.
No, absolutely not. It was all about setting up the HR services and supporting businesses on that side. But as you go along and you do that reflection and you start to think about what's important to you and what's working for you, then that's when I started to add things to my portfolio, and now I've got this collection of different things that I do, and the things that I'm passionate about, the things that I love, the things that I've had success in. So that's what it's about, isn't it? Filling your life up and work up with things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, I noticed you talked about networking, which is something that back in my retail days I never did any networking. I went to some events that are with other fellow retailers, but I didn't really see them as networking. But now I've realised that I've really missed out there in regards to just meeting people, and also not only meeting people for maybe business. It's actually just getting out there and meeting people on just a social basis, just because it can get a bit lonely when you're doing working solo as we do quite a lot of the time. And so, is that one of the things that sort of attracted you to the networking side of what you do?
Yeah, because I think in your day job, whatever that is, you're more than likely be interacting with your clients, with your customers, etc. But the point of networking that I see is that you're there to be a lot amongst like-minded business owners, people that are trying to do the same as you, that do want to have that community feel. And you don't necessarily need to be, in that expert mode of right. Okay, I'm in delivery mode. I'm in solution mode. You're there to have that social interaction. And I think through, dare I say it, we've only just started, but COVID, we were all locked away, and yeah, we need to be amongst others, don't we? So that's personally what I get from networking.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the pandemic. I think people realised how important it was, even if there weren't the sort of people that actually, like the extroverts that particularly liked being with other people. Even the introverts started to feel, actually, I'm not really seeing anybody, and I don't want to be completely isolated. I do want to have some time with other people. It might be not something that I come to work for, but actually, because it's completely lacking, I don't get any of it now. It becomes a problem, a demotivating factor. So yeah, it's interesting to say that. And what about anything else that you've been able to sort of pick up with regards to networking? The things that the people that you've met. I'm guessing that there's probably been people that you've been able to sort of collaborate with.
Yeah, and again, I think that's one of the amazing things. That's where the magic really does happen, when you click with somebody, when you just feel that there's something more that you can do with that relationship. And when that does happen, it's amazing. And that there's lots of collaborations that I've started to do it, certainly in this last year. And that things like that now are coming to fruition, that they're happening. It's great. And that's then that teamwork that's happening. Whilst you're not working in a business, and the team in that sense that we probably know, you can build up your own little mini teams by having those collaborations, and you're choosing. You can have that um, exploring stage of, is this going to work? What's our ideas? And then actually turning those to real life things, and then serving your community, and also fulfilling that side for yourself personally. It's brilliant. So bringing experts together is another thing. I think massive benefit from the networking platforms as well.
Yeah, and you get to know people, and then you get to like them, and then obviously that trust then is built up, and then it's then when the magic happens, like you say. But it's very unlikely that people are going to suddenly say, I want to work with you. They'll want to find out a bit more about you, and that's the benefit of
Yeah.
being consistent, turning up, and realizing that you have to be there. And not somebody that just there 1 minute, gone the next, and next minute they turn up at another networking event. So I think
Yeah.
that's important. So let's go step back then, Pam, into why you started your business then, with regards to your freelancing business. I was saying, what was the sort of pivotal moment with regards to going freelance?
So I suppose off the back of COVID, then we all had lots of time to think about things, and
Mm-hmm.
what's important, what do we want to do. So that was a big realization for myself. But it's always been something that I've wanted to do. And when I look back, I actually found a business plan that I wrote back in, gosh, it's a very long time ago. I was like mid-20s, and to then be able to do that and bring that to life is very exciting. And yeah. So just wanting to do that, and wanting to make a difference, I suppose, on from a SME perspective. A lot of SMEs don't get that opportunity to employ HR directly. They don't need to. So being able to offer that, on a consultancy basis, on an as and when needed basis, then yeah, that was a big motivator, and something that I wanted to fulfill.
And I've got obviously a bit an insight into actually what drives you, because you've completed a motivation map with me, and that second driver of spirit. I guess that's probably one of the things that drove you as well to have that bit of autonomy, freedom, autonomy to make your own decisions. I mean, the spirit's about freedom, and as we talked about before we went on air, it's a funny thing, because when you set up your business, you probably take away freedom in many respects, but what you do actually get, the freedom you get, is the freedom to make your own decisions and not be having to be told what to do. So I'm guessing that was a factor.
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be able to do that, and, I say often in that, if my diary's busy, it's my own making. I've done that, and if I need it to be quieter, then again, I can make that happen. So, there's that freedom to design what your week looks like, but also that freedom to design what's actually happening in that particular week, what projects you're involved in, that creativity, those collaborations, being able to do things, and put your spin on it, and show your communities, and the people that you serve, how you do things, and how that might benefit them. So yeah, definitely, there's a lot to be said around that, isn't there? That independence and that autonomy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they say that people set up a business to work 80 hours for themselves, which rather than work 40 hours for somebody else or something like that, which makes no sense whatsoever. But it's only when you're in it you realise um, it's about having that sort of control over things, that you make your own decisions, and hopefully you'll move into a point where you actually are going to get more and more freedom with the decisions you make. So what are you seeing out and about then, Pam, with the work you're doing? Obviously, you're helping businesses with regards to people, getting the best out of people. So what's the sort of theme at the moment are you seeing out there?
I think at the moment, managers, because that's really the community that I support most. Managers are continue to be busy, continue to be overwhelmed, continue to want to do the best by their people, continue to need to be supported, and want to develop. So I think, yeah, we just need to absorb things and consume things differently. Again, given that we are so busy, and given that the world has got so much on offer now, that there's yeah, that the whole world has opened up, hasn't it? And I think we've advanced probably 10 years quicker than maybe what we would have done through the pandemic. So, I think, for me, it is about supporting managers in that bite size. Gone are the days where we want to sit in a training course for a full day or a full morning. Managers want to have things that's available for them when they want it. And then I think, a big focus as well is on the follow up, and that coaching element, in
Hmm.
that, okay, I've learnt this, but so what? What
Yeah.
can you do to help me? How can I embed that? How can I get the most out of that learning? And how is that then going to help my team? So yeah, that's the biggest theme for me that I'm picking up and supporting on.
Yeah, that's the saying I've picked up on, which I do repeat now and again, is that training without coaching is just entertainment. Particularly if those people have been sent
Mm.
on the course and haven't chosen to be on that course, because you've got to find a way to embed it and change behaviours in some way. So I had an interesting conversation last week, which I share with you, with somebody who was reaching out because they said that they needed resilience training. Now I thought, well, do I do resilience training? But what I do more of is actually prevent the need for resilience training. To be honest, because what happens when we get to the point when we need resilience is we're trying to cope with the situations that we've not got the skills to cope with, and you have to think about, well, how have we contributed to allow this to happen, so that we have to work out how to be resilient. And so if you have these sort of processes in place to prevent things happening, obviously it's not going to catch all, but if you have the right sort of mindset and you have a process behind everything, you can put a lot of things in place which prevent those situations where we get the need for resilience, and then we talk about burnout and all those sort of things. Is that something you come across a lot with regards to sort of delving down into the what's actually happening here, what's causing this need for training in what sort of, the type of training they're asking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the baby steps, let's take this one step at a time. Let's make sure that we've got the basic foundations in place, because otherwise then we're trying to build that brick wall, aren't we? And it's going to fall over. And then that's when, I find that, the coping strategies maybe aren't working anymore. And then we end up at that point of actually, I've no resilience, or it's weakened, etc. So making sure that we do have those basics in place. Baby steps after that, a step a day or a step a week is moving in the right direction. And again, I think given the busyness that we all experience nowadays, whether we're a manager or an employee, we've got to do it that way, because otherwise, yeah, that overwhelm is starting straight away, and that's the whole thing that we're here to try and prevent from happening in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, from my experience, the thing that causes most stress is that, going back to the motivations, and it's definitely in my story, and I shared a lot of it in my book, is that I spent a lot of my time doing something that doesn't motivate me. And what that does is that it drains your energy. And I talk a lot about now with my clients as to how to maintain your energy, not just motivational wise, but with regards to eating well and sleeping well and all those sort of things. So, but if you are spending a lot of your time doing something that is draining your energy, then something ultimately has got to change, because that can't go on. You can do it for a short time, and if you've got the skills to do it, that's fine. But if you've got something like, we share the same lowest motivator, and that's that the need for being in a position of power and influence. So we don't really want to spend our time managing people, and ironically, both have the skills to do it. So we have the ability, so we have the skills, but we don't have the will to back it up. So is that something you come across with regards to people doing things that they don't really want to do? And that's the sort of, where the issue is coming from.
Yeah, definitely. And I think again, if I look at the support that I provided for many years, in that when staff get really good at the job, so I call that, the technical, the day job, they are then earmarked to be promoted, and because they'll make a great manager because they're good at that day job, that technical job. So they go along with that because that's very flattering and that's amazing. It's a great opportunity. And if they get the support to transition into that management role, great. I'm not saying that always ends in success, even when they do, but in a lot of instances, the transition and that induction, if you like, into that management arena isn't always in depth, isn't enough, doesn't continue, and then they're left to get on with it, basically. And then at that point, that's when the question is, what am I doing? Do I really want to be doing this? And ultimately, then that obviously comes out in the production, in the day job, in the output that they've then got to do. So yeah, they're kind of at the top of the tree, and then they're back in that major learning zone, but they're not necessarily there for the right reasons. So that
Yeah.
motivation isn't there, and yeah, that's where their energy can be
That
zapped.
reminds me of a client many years ago I worked with, who, they promoted someone in the warehouse to become warehouse manager, and I said to them at the time, I said, it's all very well, but what you got to remember, this person he's highly motivated by belonging. So if you're going to take him out of that team and make him the manager, he can't be part of the team at the same time. Not, it's just very difficult to be part of the team and managing the team. So what you need to do as a management team, now he's part of you, is to make him feel he's part of that team. And I'll never forget, I went back to see how things were going, and I had this one-to-one chat with this guy, and he sat down with me and burst into tears. And I said, what's wrong? He said, I just want to go back to my old job. He said, I just don't want to keep managing people, and I want to go back to be part of the team. And basic things like that, you really need to be aware of, that people come to work to belong. They don't want to come to work just to manage people, even if they are the ideal person and they actually got the skills. If you take them out of the environment they're most happy, then ultimately they're not going to be performing well, and ultimately, sadly, they'll they'll start to look elsewhere because they'll probably want to go back to their happy place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's such a big responsibility, isn't it? Being in charge of people and
Mm.
motivating them and leading them and bringing everything together. So yeah, you've got to be doing it for the right reasons. And if it's not there for you personally, you're not going to have that injected in you by training and by the by the company will, if you like. So
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes it's the best decision to say, actually, this isn't for me, and what next?
Yeah, yeah. So that seems a perfect opportunity to move on to something I want to drag out of my book. As the intro said, I shared a 7-step process in my book called the measure process, which is the 7 steps are spelled out the word measure. If you want to find out more, it's all in my book. So I'm going to just share with you a little bit that I think is relevant at this point, in that this is the 7-step process, and what we're going to focus on here just for a few minutes is this section here, this evaluation. And this is the second step. It comes after mirror. So mirror is about understanding yourself as a business owner, understanding what you come to work for, your behavioural styles and all other things, and also about character strengths. But the evaluation stage is important in that you have to evaluate where you are today and where you want to be in the future. And so what happens sometimes is that this scenario happens, and this is what I call the push-pull. And we've got to take into account what's holding us back and what's actually pulling us forward, because those things are often happening at the same time. So just to give you an example, we talked about Pam's freedom drive, and it's high for me as well. But also, what I come across sometimes is that some people have also at the same time a need for security. So security is about keeping things the same. Spirit is about bringing new things in some respects. But it's about making your own decisions, and with making your own decision, that tends to change things, and so the stability goes. So you've got almost two things that are pulling you in two different directions, and it becomes almost like a dilemma. What do I do, and how do I make the best decision? So as I was talking to Pam before we came on air, and sometimes it's about realizing that it's the things that are allowing us to grow, the things that we need to take into account and make sure they are going to be fulfilled, because ultimately they're the things we want more in the future. And maybe security as we move on might become less important. It's not to say it definitely will be. I'm just interested in what you have to say about that, Pam, whether you've had that sort of scenario either yourself or across anybody that has got that sort of push-pull thing going on, because I've seen it quite a few times, and it's quite a thing to get your head round. Once you understand it, actually it really frees up your thinking.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, when they get to that point to where they know that they want to step into the freelance world, but like you say, that they've got that security or perceived security in an employed role today, and therefore stepping into that is what prevents them from doing that. And some people can do it a lot earlier in life, but for a lot of people, then they wait till they are older for lots of different reasons. And then once they've taken that leap, then it's like, oh well, I've got to make it work because otherwise I'll have to go and get a job. So that there is that pull. But I think the dilemma of creating that new security, what does that new security look like? Because again, if you're looking at the things that you're passionate about what motivates you, then you're more likely to get that success in those areas, and therefore you create that security in that way. So I think I see that a lot, certainly in like the networking roles that I'm in, and seeing other freelancers take that leap of faith, as a lot of people say. But I think the biggest thing then is about building what does that new security look like for you.
Absolutely, yeah, summed up really nicely. And it's a lot of this stuff is about being consciously aware, and when you're consciously aware, you can actually take things into account and make better decisions based on those things. What I see a lot also is people that have been running a business for a long time, that spirit freedom drive becomes more and more important. but at the same time they're maintaining a drive to want to be in charge. So that's that, that ability to let go. And that's one of the things that I'm sure you've had lots of conversation with your clients about. How do you let go and still maintain a feeling of control, because ultimately you want freedom.
Yeah, yeah, and I think as well, in the outsource world, and that's important when businesses are trusting somebody to come in to I parachute into businesses and support, and then leave them to it after that. That they take that leap of faith in us as independents, as us as freelancers, to come in, to deal with whatever it is that they need dealing with. In my instance, it's HR. They put a lot of trust in us, so I think there's that push pull element in the world more now as well, that businesses are more um worry, are more, once they've got past that oh gosh, is this going to work for me, then they can see that there's lots of benefits in that outsource model, so that somebody doesn't always have to be employed in the business for them to still get access to some of the things that traditionally would have been available through somebody that is employed. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something that I think will always be there. It's something that we've got to be aware of as individuals, and keep working on it.
Yeah, I think this is probably, I don't know whether it's true for you, but I've spoken to a lot of freelancers who have left a business, and then the business that they left becomes their biggest client, or one of their clients, that's for sure. And because the dynamics are different, and also you can when you're outside a business and you're not working day to day, it's a completely different dynamic, and some things you just can't. When you've got someone internal in a business, I think it's very difficult to get things changed. Whereas you've got someone external, it's a different thing. For people just treat you differently, as opposed to someone being on the payroll. You are an outside subcontractor, and it's a different thing altogether. It allows different things to happen, I think.
Yeah, and that's reminded me of that time when I was in employed operational HR roles over the years, seeing HR consultants or business consultants come in, and everything be dropped, the focus be on that project, where us as an internal team have been saying the same thing for a long time but not listened to. So yeah, I've been on the receiving end of that as well.
Yeah, I was going to share something, but I won't, because it would take us down the rabbit hole, and time's getting on. So time is getting on. We have to sort of wrap things up shortly, Pam. But I have heard on the grapevine that you have started your own podcast. So I think it's an opportunity now to talk about why you've done that and what it's about, and how people can find out how they can get involved, or listen.
Oh, thank you, Mark, for mentioning that. So yeah, podcasts. I think everybody listens to podcasts nowadays, don't they? For lots of personal development, or you're just following somebody, and I think they're amazing. It's a podcast in your pocket type of thing, isn't it? And always got access to that. I generally listen to podcasts maybe when I'm walking the dog or traveling in the car, rather than listening to the news and the doom and gloom that might be happening in the world. And I think for me, I've over the last couple of years, in the time that I've been running my HR consultancy, I struggle with that sales thing, getting my message over. So the podcast piece for me feels more aligned to what I want to do, and the way that I want to speak to my ideal client and my community, by adding that value. And I think as well, sitting reading things, yes, of course, I put things out on social media, but I'm more of a visual person, that auditory person. So getting that message over via the podcast has been something that I've wanted to do. So 2002, I came away from the annual CIPD conference all fired up, saying, "Oh my gosh, I've met so many many great people here today. It'd be great to bring them together and really focus on the areas that managers need to deal with that are really difficult. We provide training to managers, which is fantastic. How to do an investigation, how to do a disciplinary, how to deal with a grievance. That's all fantastic. But when they come up against that particular issue, that particular subject that they've got to deal with, that's what the podcast is there to provide. So I'm joined by an expert in their field each episode, and I draw out from them the 5 top tips. So the magic of five. How can that manager best support that employee, that team member in that very difficult and very challenging situation? I wrap around that with all like the HR and legal side of it. So yeah, it's a perfect mix, and my learning from that is all the tech side and building those relationships and those contacts, and then maintaining that as well, and making sure that they get something back for their time that they've spent with me by sharing all this amazing stuff that they do in their business. So yeah, it's great fun.
Brilliant. And not, it would be remiss of me not to mention your high expert motivator. So, and it's one of the drives me to do my podcast is sharing knowledge, and that's the drive. And I think when we think about a podcast, it's part of our marketing mix, essentially, isn't it? And if you could do something that you enjoy and it motivates you, then you're more likely to do it. And I think most people look at marketing as something that they've got to do, and they make it a drudge, and something that doesn't really light you up. You're never going to really do very well, and you're just going to do it half-heartedly. So if you can find something that you're going to put your all into, and put your energy into, then that's all well and good. And that's what I've learned over the years, is that find something that maybe marketing isn't your thing, and you don't really want to shout about yourself and promote yourself. But actually, if you can find a different way, like doing a podcast, then great, that's the way to do it. And there's always a way. Brilliant. So Pam, you mentioned the 5 top tips, so it would be remiss of me to let you go without grabbing some top tips from you. You can make it 5, but anything up to 5 would be great if you want to share them.
So I think my top tips today will be sharing to fellow entrepreneurs and people in that freelance zone. So I think for me, go find the communities that work for you, whatever that may be, whether that be from a training point of view, a development point of view, but also for you personally. Find those communities that you feel comfortable in, that can just be you in, and that you come away feeling lifted, feeling supported. And the sooner that you can find those communities, the better. There's lots of exploration to get to that, and you might attend many different networking or community settings before you find them, and that's fine. But once you find them, then that's amazing, and then you've got that support. So definitely go find those communities. I think also as well, I was told by somebody that is a big part of my life from a networking point of view, in that just say yes. Just say yes to everything and work out the detail afterwards. And that pushes you out your comfort zone. It gets you into spaces that you wouldn't normally plan. And I've done that. And some things I look back and think, oh my gosh, that is not me. But by following that, then yeah, it stood me in good stead, which is good. And I think as well, have fun along the way. Do things that light you up. Do things that you're passionate about. Do things that motivate you. Because otherwise, what is the point? What is the point of doing this 80 hours? What is the point of taking the risk of running your own business? You might as well stay employed in some respects and have that better security. So find your community, say yes, and have fun along the way.
Fabulous, brilliant. Top tips there from Pam, and absolutely agree with all of them. It's it's all in line with the sort of thing that I talk about with regards to business ownership. And well done for you. Thank you, Pam. And it's all about maintaining our energy, keeping those energy levels high, because sometimes we need the energies to get over those bumps in the road that we need to either find a way over or around. So thank you, Pam, for your time today. Really enjoyed our chat. I could go on make another half an hour, I'm sure, at least, but we try to keep these fairly short. But I'm looking forward to catching up with you shortly, whenever that might be. And so hope you have a great day and week, and take care. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.
Great. So thank you for Pam for all her sharing her knowledge there. And if you want to get in touch with her, then obviously reach out. You can find her on LinkedIn, and you can find her on her website, which is pmbusinesssupportservices.co.uk. Great. So we will bid you farewell. Thank you for those that have joined live. And if you catch this on a replay or on a recording, either on YouTube or on one of the podcast platforms, we'd really like to hear from you. If you have any comments, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And it's all about helping. It's about ultimately staying motivated. And if this has helped you stay motivated in some way, we'd like to hear about it. So for now, we'll bid you farewell. Have a great day, week and month. And until the next episode, take care.